This conference will now be recorded.
So in our previous class, we were working with agents, right? So agent is a rule where we can able to have some activity executed automatically based on some periodic time. Okay, so we can able to set some time like a recurring or the periodic one. Based on this, agent will be waking up and it will be running one activity. And all the agents what we are defining here, so we can able to see one agent defined here, and there will be many other agents. If I just click here, these are all the agents applicable. Okay, so each and every agent has to wake up at some time and it has to do it some activity. So there is so many OOTB agents that are being done. So for all these agents, there will be one master agent that is called system pulse. Okay, so in interest they'll ask you. So there will be one master agent for all the agents, that is system pulse, which will be waking all the time, and it will be just checking what are all the agents that are to be waking up and what are the things that are to be done by that particular agents. Okay, so one master agent called system pulse, it will be monitoring all the agents. After the 30 seconds of time, this agent has to wake up, right? This agent has to wake up and it has to run one activity. So this agent has to wake up, this will be waking up because of one master agent running. So master agent will be monitoring all the agents and it will be just checking which agent should wake up at what time. Once this agent is waking up, it can able to do its own activity. So that is secondary. Okay, so whenever our agent is waking up, we can able to have it one activity executed automatically. So the type of this particular mode, agent might be of two modes. So leave about the legacy, this is the oldest one. So it will be having two modes, that is like advanced mode as well as a standard mode. So what is advanced mode? If I just select this advanced mode, this particular agent will be waking up for every 30 seconds, whatever the time we are giving it here. It will be waking up for every 30 seconds and it will be running the activity. So the purpose of this activity here is I have to update all the work object ID status from new to closed. Okay, so after for every 30 seconds what it will be doing, it will be executing this activity and it will be just checking whether there are any new records or not. If it is there, it will be executing it. Okay, so in this 30 seconds of time, I'm not creating any of the new work object IDs, meaning no new work object status will be created. Okay, so no new work object status will be created. In that case also, this agent will be working. So the purpose of this agent is to run all the time for every 30 seconds. Okay, so if it is of advanced mode, this agent will not be having any intelligence to just check whether whether it is really required to run or not. So in this case, what is really required to run or what is not really required to run. So if I just create few work object IDs now, all the work object ID status will be new, right? So those new work object status are to be updated to closed, and that has to be checked for every 30 seconds. That is what this agent will be doing. If at all, if I'm not creating any work object ID for the whole day, okay, if I'm not creating any work object IDs, meaning there will not be any new work object ID status in my database. Even then, this agent will be working for every 30 seconds. For every 30 seconds, it will be this agent will be waking up. Master agent will be waking up this agent. This agent wakes up and it will be running this activity. So running this activity in turn will be like a some impact on the database, right? So if it is really required, we can able to have it. But even in this non-required cases also, this agent is waking up. Okay, so in that case, we'll be going for standard mode. So agents execution will be of two modes, that is advanced mode and standard mode. So if we go for advanced mode, irrespective of the irrespective of whether the records are there or not, this agent has to blindly wake up. So this agent has to blindly wake up and has to be executing this activity for every 30 seconds. Even if it is recurring also, it has to do the same. So for every certain period of time, this agent has to wake up. But there will be cases where we don't want to run this particular agent if there is no records to be updated. Okay, so there will be cases where the execution of activity is not required. So in that case, what we will be doing is we will be going for standard mode. Okay, so if at all any of the agent is kept in the standard mode, there will be one specific option like auto queue management. Okay, so if this is marked, if we just save this and this is marked, meaning this particular agent is kept in standard mode and AQM, this is called as an AQM. So AQM is enabled for this. AQM meaning auto queue management. So by the name queue itself, we can able to understand there will be something like a pending task. When we're working with work queue or work basket, what we have understood, so that is one place where it will be holding all the pending items. Okay, work basket or work queue, it will be holding all the pending items. Okay, so this particular work queue or work basket, whenever assigned to any of the particular operator, they will be given access to work on this. So if any one of the operator picking up the particular work queue item, that item will be automatically removed from the work queue. It will be removed from the work queue. It will be considering itself as completed. So that is the thing we have discussed, right? The same concept with this auto queue management also. So there will be one specific storage for this agent. Okay, so there will be one specific storage. And what are all the pending things? So considering the same example, like uh, work object creation. If I create new work object ID, it will be like an status with new. Okay, so after we creating the work object ID, what we have to do, we have to make that particular work item to move into one of the queue. So queue is nothing like an one data table. Okay, so if at all if we want to have this agent to be running in an advanced mode, and we want to make this to be applied with an AQM. AQM is a different concept where we'll be having one database table connected to that. All the queue items, all the pending items will be stored into that particular table. Okay, so it will be stored into the table. So this particular agent will be waking up as per the specified time. For 30 seconds, it will be waking up. This is common. So for the first time it is waking up, and it will be just checking the corresponding table whether it is having any pending items or not. So okay, so if it is having pending items only, this activity will be executed. If it is not having any pending items, agent will be waking up and it will not run any of the activity. Okay, so this has a mechanism to identify, to just check for the any queue, I mean any pending things are there or not. So if I just define it like 1 hour, recurring 1 hour, what it will be doing, for every 1 hour, it will be just checking. So if I'm not creating any of the work object IDs for the whole day, there will not be any pending items stored into this particular table linked here. So the queue will be empty. So if the queue is empty, even though this agent is waking up, it will not be running this particular activity. So the difference between advanced mode and the standard mode here is, advanced mode will be blindly running for every 30 seconds of time as per the time defined here. Okay, so it will be blindly executed for every 30 seconds of time. It will be executing activity each and every time. And if it is made with the standard, and if we are marking this AQM, so in interest they'll be asking you what is the importance of AQM. So if you're marking this AQM, okay, so whenever the agent is waking up in the prescribed time, it will be just checking whether any pending items there in the queue or not. Okay, if there are any pending items identified in the queue, let us say if we are having 5 pending items identified. So this agent is identifying 5 pending items. What it has to do, it has to run the activity for the first time. I mean, for the first record, it will be picking up, it will be running the activity on corresponding that, and it will be removing the record from the corresponding queue. Okay, so the purpose of this queue here is only pending items are to be kept. So initially all the pending items will be stored, and if it is working on any of the particular record, it will be removing it completely. So this is just like a work basket, right? So if any of the particular task has been worked by any of the operator, that has to be removed from the work basket, it has to be moved out of the queue. The same thing here. So the particular item, the particular pending task will be moved out of the queue, and it will be committing it. So it will be left with only 4 pending items. Then after it will be picking up the next one. It will be performing the activity. It will be removing that. Likewise. So whenever the agent is waking up, so once the agent is waking up, it is, if it is identifying 100 records, okay, so these 100 records are to be executed at a time meaning one after the other in one shot. So in the first time of an agent waking up, it has to work on each and every item of this particular 100 pending things at once. Okay, if all the items are completed one after the other, so this agent goes to sleep, and from there it has to be calculated with the remaining time. So if it is given with 30 seconds, whenever it is going for a sleep, from there it will be calculating the remaining time. Okay, so after the 30 seconds it will be again waking up. So master agent will be again waking up this particular agent after 30 seconds of this sleep, and this will be waking up, and before it is running the activity blindly, it will be just checking in the particular queue. Okay, so it will be just checking the particular queue. So if the queue is not having any of the pending tasks, this activity will not be executed. If queue is having any pending task, only this will be executed. Clear, right? So this is the difference between advanced mode and standard mode. So execution wise, everything is same. Okay, so in order to have this particular AQ management applicable, what we can able to do in this case, or in the real-time cases when we're discussing about application of a credit card. So if I just apply for a credit card, bank people will be asking me to wait for 4 to 5 business days. What they will be doing at the last, after they collecting all the necessary details from me, so they will be just clicking on submit button, and they will be thinking that that will be the last screen from their end. After that, we'll be having something like an utility shape or something. So with this utility shape, we can able to call one activity, and within this activity, I can able to store all those details, all the customer details, what we are collecting it now. We can able to put it in one queue table. So I can able to create one new table, and I can able to consider that as my QR. So this queue table will be connected. Okay. So this will be connected, and if the bank representative is applying for 10 credit cards per day, so 10 queue items will be stored into that particular table. Okay. So if there are no items in the queue, this agent wakes up and it will not be running the activity. If it is having only pending things only, agent will be activity will be executed. So that is the difference between advanced mode and the standard mode. Okay. So each and every agent will be monitored by one master agent called system pulse. Okay. So if we are not defining any of the table, PRPC will be taking the default value as PR underscore SYS underscore Q. Okay, so there is one default table for the queue, that is PR underscore SYS underscore Q. Okay, all the things will be kept in that queue table, and this particular agent will be just checking in that queue table if it is having any pending tasks or not. If it is having pending tasks, this will be executed, else this will not be executed. Okay, so understood the difference, no? So interviewers, these are important. So real time, mostly 99% we may not get chance to work on these agents, but interview prospective, theoretical prospective, they will be asking you. So they'll be just checking whether you have minimum knowledge on agents or not. That's it. They'll not be expecting much practical from you in these cases. Okay, and there will be something called agent schedule. So what are all the agents we have created? Everything will be created like an instance here. So each and everything should be created like an instance here. So the purpose of this agent schedule here is, as I told you, one master agent like system pulse will be monitoring the schedule of each and every agent in this here. Okay, so each and everything will be monitored by the master agent here. It will be just identifying the schedule of this one, or this one. So whenever the time is getting reached of this particular agent, it has to wake that particular agent, and it has to make that activity to be executed. So after this agent is waking up, what it has to do, it has to just check the AQM applicable or not. If it is advanced, there is nothing like applicable. It will be continuously running this activity. If it is kept like standard, it has to just check for the AQM. Okay. So this is the important difference between advanced mode and the standard mode. So execution wise, both will be same. If it is having any pending task, activity will be executed, and if it is kept in the advanced mode, all the time it will be executed. Clear, right? Any doubts? Clear, no? Both of you?
Shant, I have one question.
Yes.
Earlier there was like SMA or something. Like,
Yes, yes. SLA.
no, I don't remember the name, but we used to.
Yeah, got it, got it. So before version number 7, we used to call this as an SMA. So the purpose of this
Okay.
SMA is to configure all this. So now that is completely replaced with the admin studio. So whatever the thing we are trying to do with this admin studio, okay, system management things, everything is everything has been configured in the system studio. So before 8 version, there is no admin studio applicable. Here we can able to see all the requesters, all the agents kind of things here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
One second. Yeah. So here we have to make it configuring everything. But this particular admin studio is not applicable before versions. In the 7 version, it is not there. So in that cases, we will be going with an SMA, and we have to configure each and everything manually. So SMA is just a replacement of this admin studio. That's it.
Okay.
Hmm. So once we create file listener or once we create agent, all these are to be synchronized with the nodes. Okay, so each and every environment will be having nodes. Dev environment will be having node, production will be having nodes. In order to have our rules to be synchronized with the nodes, what we will be doing, we will be going with an SMA in the previous versions. But now SMA is no more applicable here. In the version number 8, SMA is not applicable. That is replaced with the admin studio. In admin studio, we will be having everything synchronized. The node level, I mean the agents, listeners, requesters, all this data we can able to see in the admin studio directly. So this is very, very simple when compared to SMA. In SMA, you have to give all the connections and we have to do it manually. So we can able to see right here, right? So in order to have one, so in order to have one requester or one file listener synchronized with this, we have to provide each and everything. Okay. But here what we have done, we are just waiting for some time. It will be taking all the necessary details. Clear, right? So it means today is very, very advanced one compared to SMA. Clear, no? Is that your thought?
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So now we'll discuss something about Connect SQL. So Connect SQL. So I think you have listened, I mean, you came across this one. So Connect SQL is a rule where we can able to connect some external databases. So by the name of the rule itself, we can able to understand this is something like in connecting the SQL. So SQL here meaning connecting with a database. So we have already seen how to interact with our database. So in order to interact with our database, we can able to go for data pages or the OBJ, I mean activities using OBJ methods, or we can able to go with report definition. So these are all the things. There will be many methods, many ways where we can able to interact with our normal database. So normal database here meaning the rule base. So if I just open this, we can able to have all the databases connected. So you will be having only this one applicable, Postgres. So Postgres is the database. What we can able to see applicable for this internal. So this internal, our PRP's internal application will be having like a Postgres as the local. But there will be cases where we want to have our application interacting with the external database. Okay, if I just want to get some information from the third-party application, we can able to go for services, or we can able to go for this Connect SQL also. If we are given direct access with the databases, what we can able to do, we can able to integrate that particular database with our particular application, and we have to collect the necessary table names. Okay, so if I want to get some data from the third party application from the database, they'll be giving us the database details, database connections, and they will be giving the database table names. Based on that, we have to write our own queries related to SQL. Okay, when we're working with pulling of a data from our databases, we need not write a single query. Okay, OBJ methods are already there. OBJ method, you can able to generate the multiple query or the single query or update query. All these things can be updated, I mean, can be generated automatically. But this being an external database, if you want to access the data, whatever the queries that PRPs is generating will not be applicable there. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to go for some external SQL queries generation. I mean, we have to write our own SQL queries there. So in that case, we will be creating one Connect SQL rule, and this Connect SQL rule has to be linked with one data class. So if I want to get all my customer details as of now, what I will be doing, I have created one data class, and there I will be creating, there I have created one data table for that. Okay, so this is completely within the rule base. Within rule base, we have one data class as well as one data table. Here we can able to go with OBJ methods, data pages, or anything, right? The same approach, the same kind of approach. So here also we should be having one data class, and this data class used to be connected with some external database table. So in the previous case, what we're trying to do, we're trying to have this particular data class with our internal database table, right? Like states or hospitalist, what are the thing. But now we have to have one data class, and the data from this data class has to be obtained from the external database table. Okay, so in that case, what we have to do, we have to get the database details from the third party application, and we have to get some of table names as well, database table names as well. So once we get this table name from the third party, we will be having this particular data class connected to this particular new table. Okay, so we have already seen how to link one new table also. Again, I'll show you. So if I just click on definition of this particular class, we'll be having something like a table connected. So that will be for sure the rule based table only. And now I'm in a requirement to connect with my external database table. For that, I will be creating one data class, and the data class table has to be connected with the new database table, that is external database table. So in this process, what we have to do, we have to get the basic details like in database connection details as well as the table names from the vendor, and we have to first we have to link our application with the new database, and then after this particular data class is to be created with is to be linked with the new database table. Once we get it, we can able to go for either obj methods or the rdb methods also. So people will not be thinking that external database tables are to be obtained only with rdb methods, but that is not 100% true. Okay, so in order to get the data from the internal rule base or the external rule base, we can able to go with rdb methods or obj methods. Both are both can be used. So we'll discuss this when we're working on that. So now we'll be working on one requirement. So my requirement here is I have to have one external database table connected, and that particular table will be having some data, and that data has to be used in my PRPC application to get in my PRPC application. So once we get it into our clipboard, we can able to use it wherever we want, right? So open our SQL. So here under local under databases, we'll be having these many things, and here we can able to have one new database created. So this is just an this is just a list of databases for which this pgadmin4 is connected. So by default, you will be having only Postgres. You can able to have one new database connected also. So whatever the new database you are trying to connect, that will be for sure considered as an external database to our Postgres. So you can able to see many external databases connected. So this will be considered as an external DB to this Postgres. Clear, right? So now we can able to have one new database created, and in this we can able to have one new table connected for that, and here we can able to have something like an details, and we can able to create one connect SQL rule in our PRPC application. We can able to call it. Okay, so I'm trying to create one new database now. Actually, in the real time, this will be not our approach. So DB administrator has to interact with these databases, and they'll be just providing database details as well as the table names. Okay, so I'm trying to create one new database here just for our practice. So right click, we'll be having the screen, and we can able to create the database name whatever you want. So I'm giving something like chg chgdb, and make sure you are not giving any of the capital letters. Okay, so if you give any of the capital letters, it may not, it may not work. So for the best practice, it should be small all the time, even the table names also. Okay, so give the database get database name and go to security. So for this database, what are the privileges to be given? So I want to give Postgres to be accepting this. Okay, and what can the Postgres do? So Postgres can able to perform any of the things. Getting my point, right? So Postgres, I'm trying to give access to the Postgres. So Postgres can able to create, delete anything. I'm giving all the access here. Just click on save. So we can able to see one new database created and add the table. So under schemas, one public schema will be created. And here we have to add one table. By default, there will not be any tables here. So I'm trying to add one new table. So I'm giving something like custody details. So table name here is custody details, let us say. Or we can able to go with policy details also. That's up to you. So we're giving the table name, and here we have to provide all the columns for the table. Okay, so this will be the table name. I'm giving everything in the small letters, and column names I want to add. So there should be some column names, right? So I'm adding the column name as first name. Okay, and here it should be character. It will be something like a character variant. Why? Because we can able to have any of the things, right? If you want to restrict the length, you can able to define it. And there should be one primary thing here, right? So I'm giving customer ID as the primary one. So just click plus. I want to add something like a customer identity. So this should be the primary key for me. So that is the reason I'm marking this as primary. Okay. I'm doing something like last name. So you can able to give something like age. So this can be integer. Let me give a character for the supporting all the things. So once we create all the columns, we have to give the access to this as well. So in the security tab, so what are all the other database can able to access this? So if you want to access, or if you want to insert, or if you want to delete anything from the external applications, we can able to provide it here. Okay, so I'm trying to give the privilege here. So I want to make this Postgres applicable here, and I want to give all the things. So we can able to make like an we can able to provide the details from here, or we can able to insert from the Postgres, or we can able to update it from the Postgres. So these are all the things we can able to do. So I'm trying to give the whole access. So just to save it. Okay, so here we can able to see one table created. So let me run it to see the data. So since we have not inserted any of the data, it should not be showing anything. Okay, so this is blank. We have to insert the data. So to insert the data, we can blindly include it from here. I'm giving something like sample. So just double click. I'm giving like external one, something like this. So last name, sample last. Okay. So in order to add the next record, what we have to do is you have to save this. So if we save this, it will be showing next record. So you can able to add something like this, sample 2. Okay, so this is the whole data what we're having in our external application. So this particular database table has to be accessed by my PRPC. Okay, so in that case, what we have to do, we have to make this particular database accessible by my PRPC application. So we can able to see this PRPC application can able to have only one database table connected. I mean one database linked, that is Postgres. But now the new database what I have created. So this is the new database, right? CHGDB, and this new database what I have created has to be linked with our PRPC application. Okay, so in that case, what we have to do, we have to get the JDBC connection of this particular database. So till here, we will not be doing anything in the real time. So in the real time, a database administrator will be doing the creation of database, table will be created, data will be inserted, everything will be done, and they will be giving us the JDBC connections. Okay, so based on the JDBC connections and the table name, we have to interact with this particular database table connected to our PRPC application. Once we are linking with this particular database, we can able to access the table and we can able to get the data. Okay, so for that, what we have to do is we have to get the JDBC connection of this particular database, right? So for that, we can able to get it from one file. So this is the path where we can able to get the JDBC connection. So double click here, and there will be something like open our folder. So open the Tomcat, and there will be something like an configure. Okay. So here there will be something like an context. So context is one of the XML file where we can able to have the JDBC connection. You have to remember this part. So this will be applicable only for the personal edition, but in the real-time edition, they will be giving you this JDBC connection directly. So here we can able to see JDBC URL, I mean JDBC connection for our Postgres database, right? So ours is the Postgres. So we can able to see the JDBC connection for this. Now we have to link our new database with our PRPC using the same URL. So at the last, database name has to be changed. Here we can able to see username is Postgres, password is Postgres. In order to interact with our database, what we have to do? We have to create one new database. In order to connect any of the database into our PRPC, we have to add the JDBC connection. So this will be the JDBC connection for each and every database. Till here, everything will be common. Okay, so at the last, database name will be changed. So if we have Postgres connected, okay, we can able to access the data from here. You can able to see. Okay, so if we just have something like an chgdb here, meaning we can able to have the complete access on this database, external database as well. So this connection we will be getting it from this database administrator. We'll be getting it, and we can able to collect it here from here. So I'm trying to copy it, and at the last I'll be changing this one. So remember the username and password. So now create one new database connection. So database connection can be created connection under this statement. So I'm trying to create one new database connection with the JDBC URL. Okay, so here it will be asking us to provide this JDBC URL. So for that we can able to have something like an JDBC URL listed below. Okay, default we will be getting this JDBC URL only from the administrator. We have to mark this, and here we have to paste that URL what they are giving it. Okay, so as I told you, till here each and everything will be common. At the last we have to give the database name. So this should be the database name. So we will be already having one database connection for this Postgres. Now I'm trying to create one database connection with this external database. So this should be the thing. So as I told you, username password will be Postgres only, everything in the small. Okay, so I'm saving it. So let me test this whether we can able to access the third-party database or not. So success is good. Okay, so successfully connected to this particular database. That is what we are saying. So database has been connected, and now what we have to do? We have to create one new class, and that new class has to be linked with this particular new table what we have just created. So this table what we have created, right? So we have to link this particular table into our new data class. So let me create one new data class. So in just comparison with the normal rule based, everything will be same. So if you want to have one table connected with the data class, if you want to have one internal table connected, what we'll be doing, we'll be creating one new data class, and for that we'll be configuring the source, right? The same thing, I'm trying to create one new data class, and I'm trying to configure the source with the external database now. So I'm trying to create one new data class. So external DB custody details, something like this. So if I just click on save, what we can able to see, we can able to see one dedicated table connected to this, right? So if you're not providing any source for this here, it will be connected to peer underscore other table. So if I just click on test connection, all the data classes by default will be mapped to this particular internal rule based table only. Now the purpose of we creating this data class is to have connected with an external database table, meaning we have to change the mapping rule here. So whatever the rule that is being mapped for this two has to be updated with this data class to be updated with the new database table. Okay, so in that case only we can able to have the new table connected with this class. So for that we have to update some, we have to make some modifications in the mapping rule. So let me create few properties here first. So I'm trying to create few properties like first name, so it is not mandatory that both should be same. If both are same, if both are not same, also no issues. Why? Because external mapping should be done, so there it should be linked. Okay, so I'm creating few properties within into this data class. So now what I have to do, I have to link this particular table. So this external table has to be connected to this class. If I just check for the test connection of this class now, it will be showing something like an PR underscore other. So any of the data class without having any dedicated storage, it will be stored in the PR underscore other table only. So these are all interview questions. So if we are having anything like an source configured, it will be having one separate dedicated table connected for that. Okay, but now I don't want to have any separate any dedicated table created in this case. In this case, if I want to create, it will be creating one internal rule based table, so which is not required for me. Now the table which is already created for me has to be linked to this particular class. So for that, let me check for the existing database connection. So I'm trying to right click, view. So sysadmin, I'm trying to just check for the database table connected to this class. So as per the mapping rule, there should be class connected to the table if it is having in storage. But in this case, if there is no table connected to any of the data class, it will be storing in the peer underscore other. But now I want to have this class connected to the dedicated table. That is the reason I'm trying to create one new database table connection. So click create. So this is the mapping rule where I'm trying to map this class to this particular table. Do the same thing. So create and open. So this is the mapping rule. So this particular class has to be mapped to which table? Okay. So first we have created the class, then we have created the mapping rule, and now we are trying to map the table name here. So first let us check whether applicable database is there or not. So this is my database. Okay. So by default we will be having Postgres. Okay. If you are trying to check for any of the thing, you will be having Postgres only. But now I want to connect the table which is in this particular database. So I'm trying to link the database table here, and this store mandatory. So schema name by default it will be having public. So I'm giving public as a schema. Okay, and what is the table name? Custody details, right? So save this. So click on test connectivity. Okay, here we can able to see class is mapped to this particular table of this database. Okay, so this will be new thing for you. So all the time we'll be having something like pr underscore pc underscore, but now I'm trying to map this particular class with an external table. Okay, so here we can able, the below message we can able to see. So this is an rdb external class. We can able to make use of the obj methods also. So if it is like an external applications, external databases, what actually we have to do, we have to go with rdb methods only. rdb methods are the methods where we can able to interact with the external databases. Okay, but since we are providing this particular table connected to this class, if any of the class is connected to any of the table, Okay, we can able to go with obj methods also, no? So if I just go with obj open, what I will be doing, I'll be just giving the class name with obj open, obj browse or anything. We'll be just providing the class name. So based on the class name, PRPC can able to identify the table name using mapping rule. Okay, so from the table, once it is identifying the table name, it can able to get all the necessary data. Meaning if any of the class is mapped to the table, we can able to go for obj methods. So this is known fact. If there is no mapping provided this with this particular class and the table, for sure we have to go with RDB methods only. So in this case, as of now, we are linking this particular table with this class. We can able to go for RDB methods, or we can able to go for obj methods also. Okay, so in order to follow the same approach, I need not go with this approach as well. I can able to delete this also, no issues. So I should be creating one class and I should be creating one table separately. So table creation is done, class creation is done. Now I need not create this class as well as this table also. So if the class name is provided with, if the class is not provided with any of the database table, for sure you have to go with RDB methods only. Okay. So in RDB methods, you have to give the database table name, and automatically it will be interacting with the database and it will be pulling it and storing it. Whenever any of the class is linked to the table, it might be either internal rule based table or the external table. If it is getting linked, that's enough. OBJ methods can be used. So in that case, we can able to go for RDB methods, or we can able to go for OBJ methods also. Okay, so don't blindly think, understand that RDB methods are useful only for the external database and OBJ methods are only used for the internal database. So vice versa is also possible. So this will be interview question. Vice versa is also possible. Okay, so if we are having any external database table connected to any of the PRPC class, if there is any rule mapping they provided, then we can able to go for OBJ methods also. Okay, so now let me save this. So we're trying to map it here. So if it is getting mapped, we can able to see, see this linking successful, meaning we can able to go for RDB methods, or we can able to go for OBJ methods also. But in order to go for OBJ methods, what we have to do, we have to have something like an PZDNS key in some cases, like OBJ open by handle or OBJ delete by handle. We will be providing PZDNS keys, but that will not be available. All the PX, PY, PZ related will be completely with the internal database only. So the external databases, what you are trying to get the data from, they will not be having anything like an PX, PY, PZ. So if there are no such keys like PX, PY, PZ, you may not make use of the OBJ methods. Okay, so for sure then you have to make use of an RDB methods in that case. Okay, so RDB methods can be used both for internal as well as external, and OBJ methods is also used for both internal and external. So that is the final point. So I'm trying to link this particular class with this table. Once we link it, what we have to do, we have to create one activity. So in comparison with the normal procedure, we have created one class and we have configured one table for that. Okay, so after this, in order to get the data from this particular class which is connected to this table, we can able to go with an activity creation, and there we can able to have something like an OBJ methods. Okay, so I'm trying to create one new activity, and within this activity I cannot go, I mean I'll be going with the RDB methods now. So in order to make use of the RDB, we will be having one more separate tool created. So first let me create one activity in this class. Okay, so I'm trying to create one activity, and here in order to go with RDB methods, let me show here. So there will be 4 methods here. That is RDB open, which is just similar to OBJ open, where we can able to get only one single instance from the table name. Okay, and there will be something called as an RDB list, so which is completely similar to OBJ browse. Okay, there we'll be calling it as an OBJ browse, but here we'll be calling it like an RDB list, not the RDB browse. And there will be having something like an obj, I mean obj save, here RDB save, so obj delete, RDB delete. Okay, only these 4 will be applicable. There the obj methods will be having something like obj open by handle as well as obj delete by handle, but here these 2 will not be applicable. In obj open by handle or obj delete by handle, what we have to do, we have to provide pz case, right? So this pz case will be applicable only for the internal databases. For the external databases, there will not be anything like px py pz. So that is the reason rdb open by handle or rdb delete by handle will not be applicable. Okay, so if I'm trying to just use like an rdb browse, sorry, rdb list. So if I just open this, it is asking about the request type, it is asking about the access class, everything it is asking. So what should be the request type? So we have to provide all these details. So once we provide all these details only, we can able to get the data. Okay, so even rdb list is not asking about the table name, we can able to observe. So as I told you, this is to get some data from external db. In this case, even here it is not asking for the table name. So if we just provide the class name, so what are the table connected to this class can able to get it accessed. Okay, meaning that can be done. And here we have to provide the request type. So request type here in this rdb method should be connect sql. So we have to create one separate connect sql rule into the same class, so then it can able to interact with the corresponding table connected to it. So now I'm trying to create one new connect sql rule. So it is just like an connector, it will be there here. So connect sql introduce the last key. So connect SQL is a rule where we can able to interact with the external databases, where we can able to use of this RDB methods. Okay. So I want to access from here. So package you can able to give it like SQL. So I'm creating it open. So this is how SQL rule will correct SQL rule will be looking like. Here it will be having 4 different tabs: new, delete, save, browse. So these 4 are important. So if you just check in the activity, we can able to see something like an RDB list, and here it will be showing the necessary things. Let me open something like RDB open. Okay, RDB open is also asking the same things. It will be asking about the class name, request type, access. Here also it is asking the same details. Okay, so what is making the difference between RDB list and RDB open here? So when we are working with obj browse and obj list, we can see something like an class name provided. But here PRPC will be just asking about the request type. So request type here will be connect SQL. If I'm using this RDB list and if I'm giving any connect SQL here, so I just created one connect SQL, right? So if this is my connect SQL, if this particular connect SQL is called here, then whenever it is executing the step number 1, what it will be doing? So it has to execute this RDB list onto this connect SQL rule. RDB list meaning, as I told you, it will be used for pulling out multiple instances. So out of this connect SQL rule, it will be directly jump into this browse tab. So browse tab here will be for each and every tab we will be having something like a text box. Here we have to write our own SQL query. Okay, so this particular tab, open tab, will be executed whenever we are using RDB open. If I'm trying to write something like a select particular record from so and so table, so this particular query will be executed only if you are opening, only if you are giving RDB open there. Okay, so here if I'm trying to write RDB list and give the SQL name, connect SQL name, and the same query like select star from particular table name, where I'm in a requirement to get all the records from the particular table. If you write it in this open tab or delete tab, it will not be working. Okay, so if you are making use of this particular connect SQL rule from the RDB list, then it will be directly executing only browse value. Okay, if you're calling this connect SQL from RDB open, it will be executing only this tab. If you are using RDB delete, it will be executing this one, meaning this particular connect SQL rule can be used for 4 different ways. Okay, so each and every tab will be exceptionally used for particular method name. If you are using like RDB open, only this particular tab will be executed with this rule. Okay, so in this case, if you want to go with RDB list, we have to write your own query in the browse tab. If you write it here in the open tab, it will not be working. Okay, clear, right? and here whatever the query you want, you can able to do that. So within this browse tab, you can able to write something like a delete query also. So ultimately PRPC can able to understand that only browse tab has to be executed if you are trying to execute this RDB list. Okay, it will not understand whether you are writing insert query or update query or anything. If we can able to write the delete query also, it will be working. Okay, so I'm trying to write something like an, just to be given the gaps. Select star from. Okay, so let me save it. So I did not write it completely. So just for the connection sake, I'm trying to save this. So I'm trying to give the connection name here. Access should be SQL. And what will be the class name? This will be my class name, right? So before that, let me create one new page. So I'm saving this. So now if I execute this activity, what it will be creating one new page, and then after it will be executing this RDB list method, and here it has to execute this particular connect SQL rule, and it has to store interact with the database. So here we can able to go with direct table name, or we can able to give with the class name also. So in order to have the data table, data from this particular table, what we have to do, we have to give something like select star from table name. So that is also can be given. And if we just check when we're working with activities or some obj browse, we can able to see something like in pre-SQL statement as well as a post SQL statement query, right? So here we can able to give the class name, or we can able to give the table name also. Okay, so if I just open any of the activity, any of the existing activity where we are using obj browse, I'm running it. So here we can able to see post as well as the pre. In the post, what they're trying to do, they're trying to get the data using table name, and the pre, they're trying to get the table name, data from the class name. Okay, so we can able to make use of anything here as well. Since we have table and the class linked here, we can able to go with class name provided also. So I'm giving the class name. So this will be my class name, right? Okay. So if I just provide this particular query, if I just execute this, what PRPC will be doing? PRPC will be executing this class, and from there it will be identifying the table name, and from there it can able to get all the data from the external database. So I'm checking it. So if we are not checking in, it may not be picking up all the time. So for the safer side, let us check in all the necessary rows. Okay, so I'm saving this as well. Even if you don't check in, also no issues. But if you're not getting error, not getting output, this might be the issue. So now I'm just running it. Okay, so this is successful. So just see in the clipboard. So one temp page has been created, and here we can able to see both the results. Okay, so customer identity one. So this is all the data we're getting it from the third-party database, right? So here we can able to get it. So whatever the query you want to execute, you have to write it in this particular connect SQL. Here if you write it something like in delete also, it will be working. So PRPC can able to just understand which tab has to execute. So within the tab, whatever the query you do, that will be related to database only. So PRPC will not involve with that. Okay, so in this way we can able to write what are all the queries you want. So the main difference between OBJ and RDB methods here is RDB methods we can able to go with external database as well as internal database, and OBJ methods also we can able to go with external database as well as internal database. So if there is any class mapping, class and the table name mapping provided, then we will be going with obj methods. Okay, we cannot able to go, I mean, if there is no mapping, if the table and the class mapping is not there, so for sure we cannot able to go for obj methods. We have to make use of only RDB methods in that case. Okay, that is one thing. And second important difference here is we can able to have this complete SQL written. I mean, we can able to write our own queries here. The correct SQL, we can able to write our own queries. So in that case, what the advantage we have, we can able to go for joins as well. So left join or right join, whatever the data, we can able to get it using our own SQL querying. We can able to do that. So that is not possible with obj methods. Correct. So obj method, what it will be doing, it will be just pulling the activity. Sorry, it will be pulling the data based on the activity. But with RDB methods, we can able to go for joins as well. So that is another important difference between OBJ and RDB. Okay, so once we get the data onto our clipboard, we can able to use it wherever we want. Clear, right? Any doubts? So if at all, if you're going for RDB open or anything, we can able to write it whatever we want. So if we just provide RDB delete, okay, there also you can able to go with the same connect SQL rule. So here we can able to write one new query. Okay, only in that case, only this query will be executed. This query will not be disturbed at all. Okay, since RDB delete has to execute only this particular tab, and within this tab we can able to write only one query at a time. If you write multiple queries also, all the time will be executed. So that may not be working all the time. And the another important difference between OBJ and RDB here is we can able to run the stored procedures also. So since we are directly given access to write our own queries, we can able to execute the procedures as well, stored procedures as well, which is not possible with the OBJ methods. So based on the business requirement, we have to go with either OBJ methods or RDB methods. If it is like an external database without table and class mapping, there is no option for us. We have to go with RDB methods only. Okay, so clear now? Any doubts?
So Chandra,